On this episode, we have our 16th installment of a Main Street Magic Community Q&A. Today is June 27th, 2023. This is episode 577 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts. Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Rhonda.
Hey, guys.
Make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic. If you've not done so already, head out to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic Community and ask to join. Then if you hit that subscribe button, you get these brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. If you're planning your trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World, you did not get that advanced dining reservation that you wanted so bad. Don't worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Trust us, this works. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service.
So today and Friday, we are answering questions from our Main Street Magic community, where all you amazing people ask some questions.
Yeah, we like to do this every once in a while, and we've been, I think, so enthralled with content that's been trip reviews and dining reviews and a trip review and a dining review. And so we like to just kind of fill in some space sometimes with these, and these are a lot of fun for us. These are some of my favorite episodes. Yeah. Because it's not just one set topic, you know, it's just a couple little questions here and there, and you guys ask the best freaking questions. So got a dozen or so questions. We're going to split those in half between today's episode and Friday's episode. So are you ready to get into the questions, Rhonda? You ready to answer them?
I think so.
Rhonda doesn't know the questions. I only browse them quickly because I copy and paste them from Facebook into our notes.
Okay.
So it's kind of like one-off. But first, we are going to go out to Brandon. He said, I need to know where the best 3 meals are. Breakfast, lunch, dinner that we've had at Walt Disney World. Where are they? What? And I mean, overall, if you're talking overall meal, I'm going to go back to our recent Narcoossee's. I'm going to go to
so that's
a topo,
dinner.
well, I'm talking about, I'm just thinking right now of actual individual meal that we've had. Let's talk maybe about actual meal first, and then we'll go to where we think the best 3 places are. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Overall. So for me, one of the best meals I've ever had is Flying Fish, that steak the day before our anniversary, before the first Main Street 16 challenge. With that being said, a lot of Main Street 16 2024 challenge weekend info is coming soon. Woo-hoo. So just keep an eye out. I also do need to mention that it is possible this week or next. The website could be down a little bit. We're doing some transitioning. We're coming out with an all new website. So it may have to go down for a little bit as we transfer some stuff over. Want to throw that out there. But Flying Fish meal, our recent Narcoossee's meal from beginning to end, unbelievable. I think the first ever Topolinos we did when we went with Lucy and Caleb, steak there. That's the first time you had the chicken rigatoni. We did the ricotta for the first time. That was probably one of my favorite meals as far as dinners go. Are there other specific dinner meals that stand out to you?
Of course, California Grill, and it's always good. I feel like.
What about lunch? I mean, lunch and dinner kind of go together. Now, a lot of the places we've mentioned don't do lunches. You know, they're only open for a dinner, or in the case of Topolinos, it's got breakfast, skip lunch, open for dinner.
Skipper Canteen is always good. What we've had for lunch, most recent was the Coral Reef.
Yes, that was a wonderful
really
lunch.
Good.
We really enjoyed that.
We did. And that was neat because it was light. We didn't have anything because we were going to get in the car. So I'd like to go back and do something else there. I always still love over in Epcot, Tutti Gusto, the spaghetti.
If you want to talk one of the best meals on property that we've ever had, it honestly is that spaghetti and meatballs at Tutti Gusto.
But I think they've changed it and they've taken out.
We need to get back. Yeah, we need to get back there because
they took out the something in the
meatballs.
The meatball.
Oh, because they were pork, beef, and veal, I believe. So I wonder if they've cut out a meat. That can make a huge difference.
I know.
So we'll get back there and try that out. When you look at breakfast, I mean, your shrimp and grits Benedict at Rainforest Cafe. Like, I liked my breakfast pizza, but I'm not going to put it as the best breakfast meal. That shrimp and grits is the best breakfast meal I've ever tasted on property.
Yeah, that was really good. House of Blues always has a really good breakfast.
So good over there. That burrito that they have is outstanding. They have the biscuits and gravy over there that's really good.
Homecoming has a really good breakfast.
is going to hit you up for breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
True.
I think you can go anywhere.
True.
I'm going to go and say that I think, I'm just going to call it an item, not a meal. I think the best breakfast item on property is the breakfast Ronto wrap over at Ronto Roasters.
Yeah, that is really good. But you have to like that kind of. You have to like sausage.
Yes, you do.
For one.
It is outstanding. It's portable. It's quick. It's easy. There's nothing like walking around Galaxy's Edge with that. I got to clear it with Chuck and Amy, but we were talking about doing the Wonderland Crew Anyone Can Cook when we're there with them in the 2-bedroom over at Wilderness Lodge at the end of July.
Oh.
And I'm actually thinking it might be fun one of the mornings before we hit the parks to do an Anyone Can Cook live stream with Ronto wraps, the breakfast Ronto wraps.
I thought we've done that before.
It's been years.
Oh, okay.
Years.
Okay.
So that might be something we do, but
okay.
There's, and I'm thinking from an accessibility, we've always talked, I don't really recommend sit down breakfast for the most part, because a lot of times they're very similar, especially when you look at the kind of buffet or family style options. A lot of it is Mickey waffles. It's bacon. It's scrambled eggs. It's
still good though.
It's good. But in that instance, you're not paying for that food. You're paying for an experience such as breakfast at Ohana.
Yeah, but it's still really good. And the one thing I guess I would say about breakfast is if it's one of those things where you're there for possibly 5 days, basically.
Do one.
And you do one.
Yeah.
And then, maybe you just get, I don't know how you do, Brandon, and your family, but I mean, part of me says just get like things that Pop-Tarts or something.
Yeah, I mean, Vacation Grocery Delivery will get you all the breakfast snacks and items and foods that you need. Yeah. I would recommend doing one, and I would make it a probably character style, or I would look at a place of doing it like Homecoming or House of Blues that truly is a brunch menu. Because you're not gonna miss out there. Lunch, dinner, as far as I think best meals, if you're looking at a quick service, Docking Bay 7 is always super good.
Over at Pandora,
Satuli Canteen is always incredible. I think those are two of the best on property. Depending on where you're staying, if you want a super good, one of the best quick service lunch or dinners you're ever going to have, get over to Polynesian and get to Captain Cook's.
Okay.
And you're going to get the pork nachos. You can still get the noodles there. They're different than the Tambu noodles.
They are.
They eat more like a meal. Because I remember they used to have some additional like veggies and stuff, and I think you might even be able to get it with like chicken. Super duper good
I think so.
Over there. Landscape of Flavors is another one right off the Skyliner, and Spyglass Grill over at Caribbean Beach. Their menu is not as Caribbean themed as it used to be, but they still have some wonderful items over there. That's one of my favorite quick service spots that we'd ever eaten at. And that was all pre-COVID because I think it only recently reopened.
Oh, really?
But even Centertown Market, I know we didn't eat there last weekend, but they've got a lot of really good like rice bowls.
Oh, they do.
And it's super accessible. That's one of those, if you're at Hollywood Studios and you're like, we don't really want anything here. Docking Bay 7's crazy. I'm not really in the mood for like a sandwich from Woody's Lunchbox. Hop on the Skyliner, take a break, head over to Caribbean and check out Spyglass Grill or Centertown Market, or just sit down at the bar at Banana Cabana.
I just heard to say, or sit down at
or Bar Riva.
Or
either one.
In Hollywood, Brown Derby.
Oh yeah, honestly, I'll put that down with some of the best meals that we've ever had. Absolutely,
and you can sit
outstanding
in the bar lounge area and get the whole menu inside.
Recommend the Crab Louie.
Yes,
loved that last time.
Very good.
All right, let's move on to the next one from Kaylee. She says, I'm taking some friends to Universal for the first time next month. What is one restaurant you would recommend? We're doing both parks and staying on property, so City Walk is an option too. Let's go in park. What do you recommend in park?
Mythos.
Yeah, 100%
so good.
over on Island Side.
Yes.
And it's
super cool looking.
Yeah, and to be honest, we haven't done a lot of other sit down dining in the parks over there. I mean, we really haven't because Mythos was just so good. We don't tend to really eat at Universal. As weird as it sounds.
And if we do, we do walk out to City Walk because it is so convenient. and we love cowfish because it's such a diverse menu and so many different things on it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get everything from standard burger or standard sushi to elevated crazy burgers and elevated crazy sushi and everything in between. So yeah, I think you're right. Going to Cowfish is for that. All right. She said she has some friends. I don't know how many. Let's just say there's 4 of you, and y'all 4 can't decide on one cuisine. Go to Cowfish. I think you're going to find something for everybody.
But if you love Italian,
Vivo
is so good.
So very good. If you want to get fancy, we have not dined there, but the Palm over at Hard Rock,
you hear is good.
Yeah, here is very good.
We need to go try it.
Yes, we do need to try it. But if you're looking for like a steak, you're looking for something a little fancy. I'll also go. I really don't have anything to recommend on the studio side. But if we go back into Islands, I'd also recommend Confisco Grill.
Oh yeah, because
we've really enjoyed it there. I mean, when we've been there before, remember we've dined there 2 or 3 times. The last time we dined with our whole big group upstairs outside, what used to be the pass holder only seating, but they took it away. But they were like, we can still sit you where it used to be. And
that was good.
That was good. Yeah. Yep. So we've always really liked it there. But yeah, I think, and honestly, even though our last review wasn't the best, we said we love this place. Embassy Sports Grill is another one where it's like, what do you guys want? I want pizza. I want a burger. I want wings. All right. Embassy Sports Grill is the place to go.
But that's where it is the place to go too if you're wanting to watch something. I mean, I wouldn't, out of everything, I wouldn't pick that.
No, you're not going there. While the food has always been good outside of our wing debacle last time, you're right. You're not going there for the food. You're going there more for atmosphere and to watch some sort of sport that happens to have good food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So where Cowfish, you're like, I'm going for the food.
Right.
And then it turns out the atmosphere and everything else is cool. Same thing with Vivo.
Yep.
So yeah, do any of those. Highly recommend you do Voodoo Donuts one morning there in the City Walk.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they're good.
They actually are. You know, there's places. I remember there's a place up in Ocean City. I can't remember what it's called. And when we were up there years and years ago, and Matt and I went one morning to get donuts, and everybody raves about this place. They have all these crazy donuts and all, and we got one, and I was like, okay. Yeah. Like, what's the deal? I'm confused. Voodoo, we went for the first time, and I'm like, all right, this is basically one of those atmosphere theming. That's why you go, and donuts are mediocre. They're really good. Really, really good. So highly recommend doing that one of the mornings. All right, Jeff has a wonderful question that I'm very interested to talk about. Said, so I've heard you say many times now the kids are not really into going to Disney much anymore. As a parent whose 16-year-old daughter jokingly forbids us from going without her,
oh wow,
how do you feel about your one's decisions? So how do you feel about the girls?
Well, reading that, it breaks my heart.
I know. I absolutely
I love that.
And we'll preface this by saying we burnt them out.
Yeah. And excuse me, it's one of those things.
Age was certainly a factor, but it was also burnout.
I'm not so sure as much as it is not only a burnout, but it is, mom and dad are working. No matter how cool your job is, period. Whether you're an actor, whether you're a basketball player, whatever, a hairdresser. And, the kids did love coming to my salon a long time ago. Now I can ask them and they're like, meh. Sometimes they wanted to come and get their hair done, or sometimes they wanted to, and they just, meh, not really, or meh, do I have to? Right. Or, and it's just so funny because that's where I feel like that is what has happened. We go to work and they're like, oh, I don't want to go. This is boring. Because I haven't been going, and this past Christmas that we went, they both actually, A, not only had a good time, B, I think it was because it was far enough in between. They did say they missed it, and they did enjoy it.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. We burnt them out. It was the point of we're going again. And you have to also remember, they don't know anything other than Disney because they've been going since they were both 18 months old,
right?
Multiple times a year. So I do think, it'd be real easy for someone. And I used to say to them sometimes, like, they go, oh, we're going to Disney again. And I'd be like, when you get back to school on Monday, ask your friends what they did this past weekend. Most of them didn't go to Disney. And I was almost like, you need to appreciate that. But when you're doing that twice a month, I get it. We still love it. Like, I can't wait to get back. But they just got so burnt out on it because it's all they knew. And as they did get older, it started taking them away from other things. It was Lacey coming home and saying, hey, so-and-so's having a birthday party in 2 weeks on a Saturday at this place. Can I go? No, we're going to Disney. And in her mind, she's like, well, we were just there last weekend. Why are we going again? So, and it's not that they didn't appreciate it. It's not that they didn't love it for a long time. It just became, I think it started to become their life the way that it became ours. But ours had a completely different manner for it, which was working and doing the podcast and providing information and loving it at the same time.
100%.
But I think it really, so when we went for Christmas and they enjoyed it because it felt a little bit new and fresh again.
Do you think if we maybe went once a year, or like we used to, where we'd do the Florida resident, we'd buy the
if we only went
3
three
days.
times a year, they'd be on board.
I started to say, do you think they'd still be almost 16, like Kaylin's almost 16?
Yeah, I think they would enjoy it. And another thing that we found, and this is why we still do Universal sometimes, is that it became a point where
they do like that better.
Well, yeah, but it became a point. You're 13 and 15. You don't want to hang out with mom and dad. So it became a thing for them. Even when we were going to Disney, it was like, well, who's going to be there? Can we bring a friend?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, do any of your friends have annual passes? No.
Right.
Then you got to ask their parent to buy a very expensive ticket.
Correct.
We have to look at getting a room that sleeps more than 4. All of that is much easier to do at Universal.
Yes, it is.
For example, when we go for Lacey's birthday and your birthday, 3rd week in July, we're going to Universal. Cassidy, Lacey's best friend, has an annual pass. Same one we have. We can get, for a pretty good price, the family suite at Cabana Bay, or often we do one of the 2-bedroom suites at Endless Summer.
Right.
We're not having to go to like a deluxe level of pricing. So we basically said, all right, Cassidy can come. We got the room, food, whatever. That's all good. If you would like an additional friend, their parents need to buy the park ticket. We'll take care of everything else.
Which, though,
and even there is easier Universal than Disney.
Right, because if you are a Florida resident right now, what did you say, $196?
Yeah, they're calling it, they're saying it's 1 day, get 2 free. Basically, it comes down to, depending on the day that you're going, it's between $190 and $215 for a 3-day 2-park pass for a Florida resident. That's not bad at all.
No.
Now, something to note, at the time of this recording, that deal is still good for another 2 days. It is ending on June 26th, so that'll be yesterday by the time this comes out. But it just goes to show the type of deals that they do quite often. So that becomes more of an option. You know, we're looking at maybe going in August with just Kaylin and allowing her to bring her boyfriend. Again, if his parents will buy that ticket, we got everything else covered.
Correct.
We can get a 2-bedroom. He can have his own lock-off bedroom.
Yes.
Which will be locked. but
Jeremy's not going to sleep, and he's going to stay
under like $200 a night.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so it becomes much more affordable.
Yes, it does.
We only go to Universal a handful of times a year, so they're not burnt out.
Yeah.
It really is what it came to with Disney. And I wouldn't change anything. Like, I wouldn't go back and go, oh, well, we should have only gone once every other month or once every quarter, and then they wouldn't have got burnt out, and they'd still want to go, because even without going all the time, I just think they got to an age where they don't have the appreciation for Disney.
Right.
That, again, other kids do that don't get to go so often.
Yeah.
So I always had looked at it, and as I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, well, I was really wrong, is thinking like, well, they seem so ungrateful, you know, that they don't want to go again. Like, well, yeah, I totally get it. You know, I mean, and especially when you feel like you're being made to go. And I was sitting yesterday with our friend Ashley, and we were talking about the Jollywood Nights, you know, the new Halloween after party. And I told her, I said, we're going to go ahead and go the opening night. Because it's so short-lived, there's only 10 of them. We do feel we should be there opening night to get a review of it and check it out. And that's usually a more expensive night. That's when all the bloggers and vloggers and podcasters are there.
Correct.
I think all 10 are going to sell out. but guarantee that first night sells out. So she was like, okay. She's like, I think we'll hold off and we'll either not go or we'll look at another night. And she's like, and then we were talking about, do we go and not bring Arizona? Like how fun that would be just to be adults only. And I was like, it's possible. I said, take her if you do it. I said, because it's possible in a couple years, she's not going to want to go if she's like our girls, and you're going to regret not having taken her when she wanted to go.
Right.
So that kind of comes all back to Jeff's question about this. I hope that there's a time. No, this year we're going to swap. We've decided. So this year, 2023, we're going to do Thanksgiving in Disney is the plan. Take the girls, and we'll do Christmas at home. Then next year, 2024, we'll go back to Thanksgiving at home, Christmas at Disney. And I thought is the flip-flop every year. I think they'll be excited to go and they'll have a good time. You know, they go once a year now. I do hope that there is a point maybe when they're a bit older, and maybe it's much older. Maybe it's when they're over 21, you know, that they might want to be like, we want to go to Disney with y'all.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yep.
So that'll be super interesting. But I can tell you this, we are in a different phase of our life right now. And I love it and I enjoy it, but it is heartbreaking to look at Facebook memories some mornings and see the girls so young wearing Disney clothes and dressed up as princesses and the look on their face. So that's where I'm so very thankful that we had so many of those moments.
Yeah.
And if we don't get those with them again, I bet we're going to get them with their kids, our grandchildren at some point. So hopefully that'll be another whole phase that we go through. But let's move on to Patricia. She says, on December 30th, our family is headed to Disney to celebrate my grandson's first Disney trip. He'll be one.
Yay.
Our group consists of me, my 3 sisters, my son, daughter-in-law, precious grandson, and the other grandma. It's quite the mixed bag. Any tips for traveling with a large group who may have differing priorities? My priority is to just enjoy watching Liam's eyes as he sees everything for the first time. Yeah, make that your priority. And we've talked about this in the past with either large groups or going with friends or going with family. You don't have to do everything all day together the entire trip.
Right.
Take breaks from each other.
Yeah.
You know, if your thought is, I want to see Liam watch the parade, and somebody else in your party is like, I don't really want to watch the parade. There is nothing wrong with you guys separating for a little bit and 100%. Meeting back up later. You 100%. Know, if their priority is, I got to ride Space Mountain. Okay, parade's starting. I'm going to watch my grandson watch the parade, and you go do Space Mountain. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if you spend every waking moment together and in the end you find out that, well, everybody had to give a little to make everyone happy, you're not going to be happy, right?
Right.
I mean, so I really think that's the main thing.
If Liam's gonna take a nap and you're like, oh, I want to go do something,
let him nap.
Go do it.
Or it might be the one too where you know, and I'd have this conversation beforehand, especially with like the other grandma, to say something like, hey, one day when Liam needs the nap, do you mind going back to the room with him so I can do this or that, and then the next day we swap. I'll take care of him while he naps, and you get to go off and do what you want. Because at that point, like, there's no reason for everyone to go, we all got to go back to the resort. Liam needs his nap. No. Yeah. Just, kind of trade off, but have that conversation ahead of time. Another big one is prior or as soon as you get there, make sure that everything is sorted in My Disney Experience.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you're all connected.
Yeah.
Make sure if you're going to do things like Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes, virtual queues, that everybody is good to go. And that can be a big time saver if you can make sure that all of you are linked and you can see everyone ahead of time.
Yes.
And if you somehow have any error, go to the front desk as soon as you get to the hotel, or go to one of those Blue Umbrella guest services if you're going straight to a park on that first day.
Absolutely.
But yeah, big thing is take those breaks from each other.
Yeah.
You don't want to get sick of your family while you're on vacation. And it certainly can happen.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to John. This is a really great question. Said, what are recommendations for character dining for a 7-year-old boy who is not into princesses? What do you think are some greght options?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Wait till he's 12. Then he'll be begging to dine with the princesses.
I would say like Ohana's fun. And these are characters then like Goofy and
you're gonna get your Mickeys, of course. You're gonna get Stitch
for sure.
Tusker House. You're going to get your Mickey, Minnie, Donald's, Goofies.
And this is that's only breakfast at Ohana.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So
you could
at
do
least Tusker House. You can get
you could do all meals.
All meals.
Chef Mickey's. We have not been there, but I know that is a wildly popular character meet and greet that is not about princesses. Topolino's Terrace for breakfast. Cape May Cafe for breakfast. You're going to get some of your standard Fab Fives coming through there. Really wonderful interactions. Depending on his taste as a 7-year-old, Cape May Cafe's buffet menu is going to be a safer pick than Topolino's, I believe, and it's going to be cheaper overall. Plus, you're right there. I mean, that's the one thing too is you're over at Cape May, you walk right back into the International Gateway. Now, if you're at Topolino's, you can go ahead and skyline over to Epcot.
Right.
So I'd plan that around like an Epcot day or something like that. But yeah, outside of the Cinderella Royal Table and the Akershus and all these different, dining that are solely focused on princesses, there are a lot others.
Yes, there is.
I would love to see.
What's the one at Magic that has Pooh Bear and
Crystal Palace?
Yeah, that
could be
cute.
a good one.
That's cute.
Yep, that could be a very, very good one as well. Good call there. I would love to see, and we talked about this when we had our friend Andrea from the Ivy Unleashed podcast on about this very specific thing, like where her son wasn't into like Mickey ears and of course the princess stuff, but didn't feel there was a lot of stuff for him. It would be really neat if they did some sort of Jack Sparrow character pirate dining.
Yeah.
And you can include Red as well. I mean, and cover all your bases, but it would be really neat to have something like that right there within Magic Kingdom. Yeah. I mean, shoot, let's go ahead and get some use out of Tortuga Tavern. Yeah. Which is like half open, half closed. When it's open, nobody's in there, and all you're doing is eating hot dogs and gnawing on turkey legs. Maybe that could become an indoor-outdoor character dining with the pirates. That would be super duper cool. Like literally Pirates of the Caribbean franchise coming through there. Your Jack Sparrow, Red. That would be amazing. And I think it would be wonderful for people of all ages. Yep. And yeah, whoever you are, whatever you like, that would be really, really cool.
That would be.
But I would look for anything I'd really look for anything that Mickey headlines.
Yeah.
Again, your Tusker House, your Chef Mickey's, your Topolino's breakfast, things like that. Because you're not going to get Mickey over at Cape May Cafe. And that one is geared a little bit more, I would say, in some ways to girls. Like it's a traditional one of that because it's driven by Minnie. It's Minnie's like beach bash over at Cape May Cafe, which I believe you're going to experience here at the end of July on our checkout day. So I know you're super excited for that. All right, let's move on to Peyton. She says, does Main Street Magic plan to ever take things overseas? Which international park would you most like to visit and why? Yes, we'd love to take this whole thing global. We're hoping to hit Disneyland in 2024. Once those packages come out, we're going to take a look at that, hopefully put down a deposit and go late 2024. I'll be 100% honest. It all comes down to being able to afford it.
Yep.
And it's a tough one for us because you could say, we could not go to Disney World for 3 months and take all that money and set it aside and go overseas. But we are a Walt Disney World focused podcast, which means we then have 3 months of no in-park content that we have to
there's always something going on.
So that's really the reason we haven't done it, because it would be real easy for someone to sit back and just go, yeah, maybe you don't go to Disney World twice a month and you spend that money somewhere else. And you're not wrong. But that's our look at it. I mean, when you look back at the opening 2019 of Galaxy's Edge, we had our first Disneyland trip booked.
Yes.
We were ready. The only thing we didn't have were our flights.
Yep.
We had tickets. We had tickets to D23.
Yep.
We had a room booked.
Yep.
We were ready to roll. And then they announced that a week after we were supposed to go, they were opening Galaxy's Edge in Walt Disney World. There was no way that we could swing both. I think it was going to be 10 days that we would have done back-to-back trips from Disneyland to Disney World.
And we
were like,
do that.
Yeah, we're like, our focus is Disney World. We owe it to our listeners to be there for the opening of Galaxy's Edge. That's the content that will resonate more to the majority of our listeners, and that's why we did it.
Yep.
As far as overseas, if somebody right now said, hey, here's a bag of money, plan your overseas trip, which we would accept, by the way. Tokyo, for me. I want to do Tokyo so bad. Not just because of the parks and what they have, and they're getting the Frozen Land and all that stuff. I just think the culture and all over there is absolutely fascinating to me. And I would like to be a part of
Paris.
witness. Yeah, you would go with Paris. Yeah. I'd like to see that one too. I mean, any of them. Shanghai would be incredible.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do an Adventures by Disney at some point. And again, that's coming from the guy that really doesn't care about leaving the country. Like when I leave the country, it's going to be to do something Disney related.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest.
That's funny.
You know, so yeah, but no, it's definitely something we'd like to do. You know, we'd love to get to the point that we can afford to do it and still continue to do, you know, these types of trips. Even if we had to take technically 1 month off of Disney World in order to rearrange some things and go overseas or do our Disneyland trip, it's definitely something we want to do. Something else that I can see in the future is if we don't find that we're able to do them, but the request is there for that content, we will find people that can guest that can talk about just say Shanghai or Paris or Tokyo or whatever it may be, so that we can still relay that information back to everyone if that interest is there. All right, last question for this episode from Sean. Maybe this could be a whole episode, but what are the best places to get in quotations, I like this, oops, all appetizers meal? And honestly,
wow.
Sean, you bring this up at a really good time when you consider basically what we did last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Space 220 Bar and Lounge, right? Appetizers.
Brown Derby Lounge for
Brown
sure.
Derby. Really, really good one. Or I mean, regular Hollywood Brown Derby, but I'd recommend just going and doing the lounge portion. Topolino's. We sat at the bar, made an entire meal as we sat there out of appetizers, and then Rhonda got her rigatoni to go, which was an entree. I think that's a really, really good one. Spice Road Table, I know it's a tapas bar. They don't technically have, or tapas, you know, restaurant. They don't technically have entrees, but I would recommend Spice Road Table. Yak and Yeti.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I think Yak and Yeti might be one of the best oops all appetizers locations on property. Nomad Lounge. Again, it's a bar lounge.
I started saying they don't have
same thing with like Three Bridges, Dahlia. You know, they're not. The Three Bridges is serving what they consider entrees. Dahlia again is more tapas style, but you can make a meal out of what you would consider small plates appetizers over there.
Right.
I'm trying to think. We covered. Where would you go? Magic Kingdom, Skipper Canteen.
I don't know because.
I mean, because you can do the Brazilian bread.
Right. You can't sit at the bar though because there's no bar.
There is no bar. So yeah, see,
I just try to think of like when he says that, like I honestly try to think of instead of sitting down at a like place to eat, like
because you don't think of making, you don't think of making a dining reservation to only eat appetizers.
Correct.
I agree where you're going with this. You're basically thinking like it's kind of last minute. Where can we go sit somewhere? Probably at a bar.
Tambu Lounge,
outstanding. City Works.
After 4, you can get the pot stickers. You can get the noodles.
You can get the wings. You can get the skewers.
Now, I know that's not like quote unquote appetizers, but at the same time, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Because it's just these side dishes that are pretty big.
I
make a meal out of them.
We've done this, the rooftop bar at Paddlefish over at Disney Springs.
Yeah, they have a lot of good appetizers.
Same thing. Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. Yep. That's very considered almost a tapas-style appetizer menu. That's a great place. Like I said before, City Works, because they have such a huge menu that you can dine from. I think any of those places would be good, but I really like your idea of saying, you know what? Even if you don't drink, it's fine. You can still go sit at a bar, and I think it's a good last-minute spot. Kids can at Disney. Yeah, I think it's a good last-minute spot to go ahead and just sit down and go, I'm going to make a meal out of all appetizers. Oops.
Yeah.
That makes it seem though like you didn't plan to, like you just, which I mean honestly we've done. Like when we went to Topolino's, we didn't have a plan. We just sat down and we're like, well, let's just do a bunch of appetizers. You know? Yep. So speaking of Topolino's, we're recording on Sunday, and this evening we got all our ingredients. We're gonna recreate the incredible famous ricotta and the little tomato chutney. We're not going to go all out with the bread because it's a very long process, so we're going to cheat there a little bit.
Yep.
But we're going to live stream that all inside of our Patreon group at Wonderland Crew. You can learn more about that and join if you would like at wonderlandcrew.com. As always, we've got a lot of cool content coming up, and we can't wait to share all that type of stuff with you. We have 3 back-to-back trips to round out summer. They're going to be super cool, including Universal, Disney, staying in a giant fifth wheel again at Fort Wilderness.
Yes.
Awesome rental from Camper Rental Adventures. Check them out.
Yes.
I have had a lot of people hit me up about them asking And it is so much fun. If you want to do Disney in a way you've never done it before, Camper Rental Adventures at Fort Wilderness is really cool. And that's going to lead us all into a very fun birthday weekend for me in mid-September. Wilderness Lodge, club level on my birthday. I'm super excited before we head to Universal and get our pants scared off of us at Halloween Horror Nights. That's going to be a big fun group. If you want to join, there is an event with details in the Main Street Magic community out on Facebook, or just hit us up if you want to be a part of that whole big fun experience. Let us know. Of course, you're going to hit your subscribe button so you get all this content. You're going to get it every Tuesday and Friday. And both Rhonda and I would be super grateful if you would leave us a rating and review.
Because it helps our show grow.
That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts. Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.